This week on the show, as more Americans become disillusioned with our healthcare systems, more tech companies are providing DIY alternatives to doctors' offices. But is that a good thing? Hey, I'm Laurel Bristow, and this is Health Wanted. Each week, we cover your need-to-know public health topics and break down the science behind them in our pursuit of better health. I went to the doctor's this week, saw my wonderful primary care provider, who I've been going to for years for my annual checkup. As always, I emailed her office before the visit and asked if she could put in the orders for my routine labs so that I could get them done the week before, and the results would be ready for us to talk about. And everything was normal. Got to watch my cholesterol a bit, but once again, I benefit from being a relatively healthy gal. No complex medical needs, which is fortunate considering I had to book this appointment 5 months in advance. And I am not alone. The average wait time to see a doctor in family medicine or other specialties is up 48% since 2004. And that's if you even have a doctor to see. It's estimated 1/3 of Americans don't have a primary care doctor, and finding one is only going to get harder as the U.S. is predicted to be short about 90,000 primary care doctors by 2037. So, it's no wonder people are increasingly looking to alternatives to supplement or even replace their healthcare needs. The pandemic saw a boom in telehealth appointments. Visits through video screens were a safer alternative to coming into hospitals or doctors' offices, places that are famously full of other sick and potentially contagious people. The realization that many low-risk patients could be seen virtually has caused some health systems to explore expanding the option and making it permanent, to be able to increase patient volumes. One health group found that a virtual provider can see 3 to 4 patients an hour, whereas an in-person provider can see 2 to 2.5. And if you can see more uncomplicated patients from the comfort of their own home, why not see all of them? If you've been on social media at any point in the last few years, I'm sure you've seen ads for companies like Hims, Hers, or Ro.
Ceremony starts in 5.
One sec, just got a Hims real quick.
Hers believes in a world where your healthcare isn't determined by where you live, what you do, or whether you have insurance.
Yes, I'm on Ro.
The completely online telehealth groups who specialize in prescriptions for things like hair loss, weight loss, skin, or anxiety. These companies flip the average primary care visit. Instead of going to a doctor with a list of symptoms and hearing what they recommend, users show up knowing what kind of medications they want and get a prescriber to sign off at the end. Visits tend to be minimal, just enough to check there aren't huge contraindications, and the client walks away with what they want without waiting weeks for an appointment, fighting with insurance about coverage, or getting bills for copays.
Yay!
While the system can be useful for medically uncomplicated people, particularly those who don't have access to care, it gives a real customer's always right spin on health. And the telehealth companies are ultimately a profit-driven organization who might not get the same amount of information about a patient's personal circumstances as a doctor would before prescribing, or follow up with someone on a new prescription. Currently, the company Hims is being sued by the parents of a college student who died by suicide using the antidepressants he was prescribed without ever speaking directly to a provider, despite disclosing a history of undiagnosed depression and self-harm. Other people might be less interested in prescriptions and more interested in getting a wide array of lab work that their doctor might not be willing to give them an order for. For these people, the free market has taken up the call to provide a variety of options for DIY diagnostics. Quest Diagnostics offers everything from hormone panels to electrolyte tests to inflammation testing and even chronic headache tests. The venture capital-backed company Function Health recently raised $300 million in funding to expand its offerings. For just $365 a year, users can access over 160 laboratory tests, and for a few hundred extra, you can opt for full-body MRIs. Now, you might be wondering why your doctor has never ordered 160 tests on you. And the answer is likely because you don't need 160 tests. Sure, it can feel good to have a lot of information. I myself love a data point and have been tempted to get all the tests just to know. But in reality, some of the offerings haven't been validated for use without an indication of need. Not all tests are appropriate for all people, and overtesting can cause health anxiety when you don't understand the results or lead to even more invasive or expensive testing for something that ultimately turns out to be a non-issue that should have been ignored in the first place. These lab subscriptions still generally require a doctor to be involved. While many of the direct-to-consumer lab tests or MRI companies employ providers who can do a first pass at explaining results and recommending supplements, most still also suggest discussing your printouts with your doctor. But what if you can't stand to wait for an appointment or don't even have a provider? You might be tempted to consider asking Dr. Chatbot. Plenty of other people already are. According to OpenAI, the parent company of ChatGPT, their chatbot sees about 40 million prompts a day regarding healthcare from around the world. In rural areas in the US, where healthcare is even harder to access, users enter an average of 600,000 healthcare questions a week. For some, it's been the answer to their long-standing medical mysteries. It's not hard to find personal stories of people who, after years of seeing specialists who seemed to try everything and still provide no answers, suddenly got the information they were searching for thanks to a high-powered chatbot. And it makes sense when you think about it. While doctors have years of specialized training, they don't have instant access to every account of the rarest of diseases. And there could be a potential diagnosis that's only found in the depths of the archives of the internet that a chatbot can get to much more efficiently. Some studies have shown that AI can be highly accurate when given a set of information and asked to come to a potential diagnosis. For example, one study from 2023 found the chatbot used was more accurate at making a correct diagnosis on its own than when it was used by a provider. Though 2023 feels like only yesterday, in terms of AI, it's nearly a prehistoric time, so it's possible the difference was a factor of providers not really understanding how best to use such a new system. More recent studies are not so convincing. A preprint from 2025 found that across 31 large language models who were asked health advice, potentially seriously harmful information was given out 22% of the time. Today, companies are interested in improving the seemingly already commonplace practice of turning to chatbots for health guidance. In 2024, Elon Musk posted on the social media site X asking users to consider uploading their X-rays and MRIs to Grok, the site's large language model program, to help it learn to better interpret the images. Some things it got right, and some things it got very wrong, like mistaking an image of a benign breast cyst for a photo of testicles. It's hardly the only example of a chatbot getting health wrong. Famously, at the start of Google's AI search function, it told people to put glue in pizza sauce and eat a few small rocks a day for health. But an investigation by The Guardian found these cases of incorrect health information continue even today, with Google making poor dietary recommendations to certain cancer patients or providing incorrect information about normal ranges of liver blood tests. So how do you, as a responsible AI platform owner, deal with the fact that people will use your product for healthcare regardless? If you're the owner of OpenAI or Anthropic, you create a platform specifically for them. In January of 2026, both companies announced their chatbots had been upgraded to receive healthcare-related inquiries. For ChatGPT, the idea is a separate chat platform with enhanced security, where users can ask questions about their health that's kept separate from their normal chats. And while ChatGPT Health might draw upon information shared with regular ChatGPT, if you happen to share information about recent moves, stress, or diet changes, for example, the information in the health section won't be shared with the regular section. Anthropic's platform, known as Claude, will also take on healthcare questions with enhanced data controls. Most importantly, both platforms will allow you to connect to other health apps like Apple Health, Weight Watchers, Peloton, Function, and even your actual medical records to personalize your experience. Now, before you go running to replace your primary care provider with a friendly bouncing ellipses, there's a few things to consider. Firstly, even OpenAI says that the ChatGPT health tool isn't meant to be used to diagnose or treat anyone. It's supposed to be a supplement to healthcare, meant to help people get a basis for understanding their test results or prepare them for conversations with their doctor. And Claude is supposed to advise users to seek emergency care when presented with certain high-risk symptoms and give disclaimers about uncertainty in its advice. But in the age of wellness influencers and supplement ads on social media, is there anyone who hasn't been desensitized to these disclaimers? There's a real risk people will do whatever they want with the information given, even when it does come with a caveat. One unfortunate man poisoned himself into psychosis after ChatGPT incorrectly told him he could replace sodium chloride, your average table salt, with sodium bromide to reduce his chlorine exposure. Chatbots might be able to quickly scan the depths of the internet for diagnoses that are often overlooked, but it doesn't have the human touch of a provider who knows how to ask the right follow-up questions, or can recognize signs in a person's history that makes one diagnosis more likely than others. And unlike when we simply used an AI-free Google or WebMD search that provided us with a variety of forums to sort through, or a range of diagnoses so broad they were hardly considered helpful, AI systems are designed to replicate human speech, and so can speak with authority some people might take as truth even when it's wrong. And when the conversations are long, as tends to happen when people are asking about details of their health, the safeguards in these chatbots can break down. One thing that was missing from either company's announcement was a mention of mental health care. By OpenAI's own account, over 500,000 users are sending messages to ChatGPT indicating they're experiencing mania or psychosis. About 1.2 million are experiencing suicidal ideation, and another 1.2 million are prioritizing talking to the computer system over engaging with friends and family. Google and the startup Character.ai have recently settled lawsuits alleging their products contributed to the suicide of a 14-year-old boy. And ChatGPT is currently being sued for allegedly contributing to a murder-suicide. OpenAI reports it has taken steps to improve its ability to detect distress and respond appropriately without affirming feelings of paranoia or the desire to self-harm. But it's unclear how well a system that's designed to keep people engaged will be at directing distressed users to appropriate care, or how people with limited resources to start would even be able to access care it might recommend. Another issue is that chatbots aren't governed by the same laws and regulations as our established healthcare system. OpenAI takes care to talk about their encryption process. Both platforms say they won't use your data to train their LLM. Anthropic notes that it can connect users through HIPAA-ready products, but neither mention the fact that their system doesn't have to follow HIPAA, or the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act. These are the rules that prevent your sensitive health information from being given out to anyone who wants them. In theory, OpenAI could simply change the terms of service for ChatGPT Health and sell any data you've willingly uploaded to the highest bidder. It's a problem that's happened before in the world of direct-to-consumer health. In 2023, the Federal Trade Commission charged the teletherapy giant and frequent podcast advertiser BetterHelp with selling sensitive patient data to advertisers. The company denied ever doing so while settling the lawsuit for $7.8 million. When the genetic testing site 23andMe announced it was filing for bankruptcy in March of 2025, millions of users were shocked to learn information about their personal genetics would likely be sold to the highest bidder and had to race to delete it. The crisis was ultimately averted, for now, when a judge okayed the sale of the company and all of its data to a nonprofit started by 23andMe's founder, keeping prying eyes away from the sensitive content. Now, there's no question that our healthcare system is broken, but is unfiltered access to mountains of health information the answer? Or does it simply increase the chance we're steered towards focusing on non-problems that have no solution?
Leslie, I typed your symptoms into the thing up here and it says you could have network connectivity problems.
For Health Wanted, I'm Laurel Bristow.